Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. For today's video, I figured we'd check out some unhinged behavior by the NDP member Laurel Collins. Now, if you remember earlier this week, I played the clip that I'm going to play again for you, where she was attacking Pierre in the House of Commons. He kind of clapped back, and that was the end of that. But if you don't remember the clip, this is the one that I'm referring to.
The honourable member for Victoria.
Across the country are in support of universal pharmacare and the delivery of diabetes medication to Canadians. The leader of the opposition and his family have one of the best healthcare plans in the country. I met a mother who told me she could barely think about anything except for how much the medication and devices cost her daughter with diabetes. She was 3 or 4 years old. I don't know how anyone could look that little girl in her eye and say that she doesn't deserve access to life-saving medication. Why does the member think that he and his family deserve coverage and this family and families just like them across Canada don't?
Bravo. To answer, the honourable member for the Leader of the Opposition.
Well, first of all, if the member thinks that parliamentarians have too good coverage, she can put forward a motion to cut it back. But instead what she's done is to propose to cut back drug plans for everyday Canadians, particularly unionized Canadians. Roughly 90% of Canadians have some drug coverage. But the bill that the NDP and Liberals have put forward requires a single payer. Single payer means only a federal government plan. So she would ban private and even provincial plans and replace them with a federal government plan, a government that cannot even figure out how to deliver a passport would suddenly become responsible for providing you with drug coverage. How does she look hard-working Canadians in the eye while she promises to take away their hard-won, collective bargaining, secured drug coverage?
Now, if you're anything like me, you probably thought that this lady seems a little unstable. She's shaking. She's on the brink of tears. It seems like she probably needs a vacation and to step away from this position or this job. But this next clip got even worse. And the funny thing about this next clip is I just realized that it was from the same day as the one that I just played. She's in a whole different outfit in this one, much later in the day, which is why I thought it was from a different day. But when I looked at the data, it's actually from the same day. And this is the clip that I'm talking about.
I guess I want to start off by addressing one of the comments that was made by the witnesses around climate hysterics. Hysteria, it refers to something that is wildly emotional. It comes from the Greek word womb, of the womb. It is used in ancient Greek to refer to things associated with women. And I hope you'll forgive me if I get emotional. Climate emergencies are not gender neutral. The degradation of ecosystems disproportionately impacts women and girls. And I am wildly emotional. This is the existential crisis of our time. And to hear that we're asking for high ambition is climate hysteria, that makes me wildly emotional. Absolutely. You know, when I think about my womb, you know, the 2 children that I bore from that womb and what future we are leaving them, I am wildly emotional. And it's not surprising to hear this from someone who has written articles that are pro-life. I think that we need to think about the intersection of gender and the climate crisis. And I hope that the people around this table and the people listening will refrain from using language like climate hysteria.
Now, to me, this is a prime example of hysteria, and as I mentioned earlier, mental instability. And I don't say that to make fun of her, but I actually say that in concern, because if she's getting this worked up from one of the witnesses coming in and saying climate hysteria, which we can all be honest, that's what it is. We've been hearing about climate change and the planet burning up and everyone dying since, what, 60s, 70s? And now we're in 2024 and it's the same talking points. So yeah, some could say climate hysteria for sure. That doesn't mean it's climate denialism as she talks about later on. But for her to go on this weird tangent about women and girls are more affected by the climate than men somehow, it's a gendered thing. And maybe because I'm a man, I don't understand it, but I really don't think there's any sort of evidence that shows that that's the case. The fact that she also went down this rabbit hole about talking about her womb and having 2 children, but then having a problem with somebody being pro-life, as if any other mother shouldn't be pro-life. Now, I get it, she's NDP, so that's the script I guess she's got to stick to, or maybe that's actually how she feels. But when it comes back to her for a second round of questions, this is where I mentioned she talks about neo-denialism and somehow equates it to she's not surprised that somebody would have those views as somebody who's not pro-choice. Women can control their body, as if these two things are to coincide.
Yeah, again, it's not surprising to me that the Conservatives have spent most of their time asking questions about divestment to someone who is maligning the divestment movement. Young people are using so many tools, whether it is divestment, engagement, or activism, and they're trying to use whatever tools they can right now in the face of a climate crisis. It's not surprising also that, the climate neo-denialism, that we don't have to be that ambitious, is aligned with folks who don't fully support a woman's right to choose. It's also, to me, telling that the Conservative leader has refused to say whether he would scrap the industrial carbon price.
What an absolute journey we just went on with this woman. Not only did she give us an etymology lesson on the word hysteria, we learned about her womb and her 2 children, how gender and climate are somehow intertwined, her disapproval of people who have pro-life viewpoints. She then openly admits that she is hysteric and emotional, talks about activism, somehow gets into people who don't see it as a climate crisis are now climate deniers, when I don't think those two things equate, but then somehow ties in climate denying to not being pro-choice for a woman and her body, and then ends the whole thing with, is Pierre Poilievre going to scrap the carbon tax for industrial companies? Like, the mental gymnastics one needs to do to go down that whole roller coaster is insane. And to me, this just reinforces that this woman needs some serious hobbies. She needs to go find something else to do other than being in Parliament. She needs a long vacation. She needs to potentially step down and get out of this whole job in general, because she is losing her mind. But as always, this is just my opinion. I'd love to hear from you guys. So please let me know in the comment section below what you thought about this whole situation. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Hope you all enjoy your weekend. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks so much.